we're already 7 minutes in. We are very happy and honored to have some speakers this evening, so thank you for being here. We are going to have our, is it code enforcement?
Code compliance these days.
Compliance. I'm like, yes, I'm like, I feel like
It's trying to protect the innocent.
Code compliance is here, and then we have our House representative. You'll have, I'm sure, many questions to ask, because I know they're here because you have at some point in time asked some questions that I'm sure that they may be able to shed some light, and I'm sure if they don't know, they will be willing to go and take a look at things, provide us feedback. So I hope you take advantage of this moment and spread the word on the wealth of knowledge. There's some flyers and information that was at the entrance. If you didn't get that was brought. What else can I say? I'm just going to let them introduce themselves and leave the floor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Make sure I'm not fade away there. Good evening, everyone. I'm Larry Carascio, and I'm here tonight with John Gennady, and we're both.
Larry, you speak up just a little bit.
Okay, I need to, my voice doesn't project, Terry. I'm going to try to do that though. Can the people in the back hear me? And now if I keep it up there like that? Maybe
Yes.
Stand in the middle?
I might need to do that, but I wanted, would you run the slide? Sure. And that would, maybe we can do that.
Yeah.
I'll be off camera. Let's see, what's the best? How is this? Can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
The air is flowing, and I'm thankful for the air conditioning. It feels so good now. So I'm Larry Carascio, and this is John Gennady. We're both code compliance supervisors for the Palm Beach County Code and Compliance Division. So we have a brief presentation for you, and then we're going to open the floor to some questions and have some discussion, just general discussion about code enforcement. But I wanted to say it's great to see a turnout like this in the community meeting, and what I was going to say was I've been with the county now for 31 years. I've lived in the area here since 1969. And one of the great things about that, and I wasn't even going to mention that, but my good friend Terry rolled in the door, and I coached with him years ago, and it's always fun to go somewhere like this and meet the people in the neighborhood and everything, especially when I know someone that well and everything. So he's not just a coach; he was our veterinarian for zillions of years. But it was really fun to see you, to re-meet you. If you could go ahead and click to the next slide. There you go. So Palm Beach County is a rather large county. I don't have to tell you that, I guess, but it's like 2,300 square miles of area. So it's rather big. Actually, I'm told that our county is larger than the state of Rhode Island. And the largest county east of the Mississippi. So it's pretty big. So we take it and we divide it up into 5 zones. And this is all just to give you kind of an idea of how we're structured and how you can use our service and everything. But, so we're 5 different zones, and your neighborhood is located in Code Compliance Area 3. And the map there, actually, it also has the commission districts in there. So we have Commission District 2 and 3 in there. That John is responsible for. He happens to be the area supervisor that's along with us. And can you hit the next one? Okay, so Area 3 has 7 code compliance officers assigned to it, plus 1 supervisor. Each of the code officers is certified by the Florida Association of Code Enforcement, and they routinely they get annual training and everything from them, and in addition to that, they're very well equipped. They all have GPS cars and computers, and they have body worn cameras, and I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. Just go ahead and take the next one. Thank you. So code officers work from a variety of codes, including the building code. basically all the ordinances that your Board of County Commissioners passed. If you would go to the next one. So I just wanted to show you some examples. It's going to be kind of hard to see them. I'm sorry. We would like to have a bigger screen, but
But he's got
so-
the prints out, so you can follow.
yeah, that's true. So these are some examples of some common property maintenance violations. On the upper left-hand corner, there's just an overrun lot or property. To the right of that, a pool water clarity issue or superior pool water. And below that, an open pool, a barrier, and then, trash and debris on the right there. Next slide. And then this is an example of, a couple of structures in disrepair.
My house was.
And, I'm the exterior, but I'm sure the interior is not looking so great either, but, give me, next slide, please. And, then some building code violations. The one on the left is a mobile home that has an addition on it, which is in violation of the county's ordinance. And then on the right there, some modifications to an interior structure without permits. And then we have some life safety issues here. One is a pool that's missing a pool safety barrier, and then to the right there, that was an interesting one where, actually a couple of years ago, a vehicle struck this house intentionally, trying to do the occupants harm, and it left the building, in a very unsafe condition. And next slide.
Tires, trash.
Oh, yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Actually, we can go back to that. I'll talk about it for a second. I'm sorry.
How to get back to
Just that up arrow.
How do you get back to the progress?
Arrow.
Just the up arrow. Yeah, thank you. Okay, yeah. We also address zoning code violations, so land use issues, that nuclear waste facility that someone put up in their backyard, that kind of thing like that. And that's pretty self-explanatory, stacks of tires, somebody just discarding anything from their business, industrial.
You can find that at the bottom of Lake Osborne.
It could look like that. I'm not saying it doesn't.
Every other canal.
It's been a lot of years, I don't know.
Well, for someone to come when they drain the lake for the hurricane and take all
Unless
this
they
out.
kind of get a lot of
That's
stuff
when
out
you
of it,
can
it's
really
the
see
same.
it, yeah.
That's the same. So, I've kind of shortened all this up and everything, because I know we have a limited amount of time tonight. But, the big question is like, why have a compliance program like this? And, honestly, I could talk to you for hours about why I think we should have a code compliance program, a well-run code compliance program. But these are the three things that I shortened it down to talk to you real quick about. The first one is public safety, health and safety, and this category is things like hazards, threats, electrical hazards, structural hazards, even infestations of insects like bees and vermin and things like that. So nobody wants to live with all that stuff. So we have ordinances that address those issues. And then second on my list was property values. I'm sorry. And I was just talking about this with someone earlier. Property values are crazy around here, right? And when you buy a house or a property here, you are spending a lot of money. And our ordinances that address property maintenance and everything, and all these other ordinances actually contribute, I believe, to maintaining our property values, and even in some cases, bring property values up. And then, quality of life. So all of that basically, comes into having a good quality of life. We all want a good place, a safe place, a clean place to raise our families. And these ordinances that we enforce, I believe, contribute to that. I'm convinced that they do. John, you have some information you wanted to share too, right? Or actually, maybe we should talk about let's talk about the complaint, how to let us know you have a concern. I'm sorry. I look at, what we do is a service that is provided to you by our Board of County Commissioners, and this is how you use that service. So if you become aware of something that is a concern to you, and it's a code, maybe a code violation, you can contact us, either by, going on to our website and filling out a form, or sending us an email. You can call us, you can stop by in person. If I have some material out there that has the dust line and everything, if you don't want to write it down, but it's on the screen. If you could copy next to me up there, it might be a little bit clearer for that. There we go. So if you look there, you can see that okay, it wants to write anything down. Oh, you have it on the printout. Never mind. And so now it's over to.
So obviously, our main address, we cover the entire county. Anything that's unincorporated. Obviously, we don't step on toes. We don't go into any of the municipalities. We basically just take care of the unincorporated. Where the sheriff's office, Palm Beach County Fire Department goes, that's basically where we are. We have pockets inside some of the cities, townships, and villages. But for the most part, the unincorporated areas where we take care of what we do. There is also, I was discussing with one of the older, unfortunately, some people they would want to make complaints by anonymously giving the information. That does not occur anymore. We cannot take, by law, the complaints if they are anonymous. So when you have someone who is willing to take the hit, I guess, being the complainant of record, and everything that we do is public record. So we have to take a complainant's name. So you can do it by the phone number. We have the main phone number. We are also linked with Palm Beach County contractor regulations. Now, they changed their name to it. They actually regulate and go after the contractors. Yeah.
Just so everybody knows, I'm a member of an interagency task force that meets every month, and code enforcement is part of that. PBSO is part of that. Building planning and zoning is part of that. Health department is part of that. There's a group of us that meet. We do not make decisions. We do not make policies. What we do is try to solve problems. So if you can't get a hold of code enforcement, believe me, if you contact the sheriff and say, yes, I think somebody just dumped this stuff here, or I don't know what the guy's doing with his house, but he's burying all the stuff that he's doing for construction in his yard. What can I do about it? So PBSO has, the Solid Waste Authority has an agreement, forget how many thousands they pay per year to have deputies dedicated to helping out all those other agencies in Palm Beach County. So I just wanted to give you that information.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we do work with multiple other agencies within Palm Beach County and the state. Health department. We also, even if there are calls where we are notified about issues that we don't have jurisdiction over, we can offer services because we get the booklets that have resources. So even if you're not sure what you're looking at, we can sometimes be able to direct you to either 211, or we can look up some of the resources that you may be looking for. Sometimes we have people who have mental health issues, or they're hoarders, or they're things that we can't actually control, but we can give out resources and contacts so they can control those. So I basically just threw a couple of numbers up here. Within the last 12 months, in Lake Osborne Estates, we've had about 28 calls for service. We have 4, I'm sorry?
I was gonna say, you're sure that's Lake Osborne Estates, not the Lake Osborne area?
In the 10 what is it, in the 10 plaques that we register
Okay.
inside
Based on
Lake
the
Osborne
flags.
Estates. So 28 of them, we have 4 current. We have actually complied the rest. The 24 have been complied with, which means I guess we're doing a pretty decent job with getting through to people and getting compliance with what they are. We're not the bad guys. We don't like to go out. We don't make a whole lot of friends. Because when we knock on the door, we're not the ones that you're throwing your arms around and saying, come on in and have dinner. No, we're the guys that you want to turn away and say, please don't come back. But at the end of it, for the most part, when we have compliance, people actually thank us for the knowledge that we're able to impart on them. They know if they just wanted to put up a little constructed building in the corner of their lot, we give them the information. If it's not directly from us, we give it to them through zoning, through the building department, permits. We tell them how to do it properly, where they won't have to worry about us coming back and saying, hey, you gotta move it. So, and now all the money, time, and effort that they put into doing whatever it was on that property. Who thinks that, you know, you need a permit to put in a paper driveway? It just looks pretty. You have to have a permit for it. There are reasons why. We give that information to you at the time that you guys contact us. If we see that it has happened and we see that there's no permit on record, then we have to make sure that you get the permit, or unfortunately it has to be removed. Now, how many people want to pay for all those papers and then Home Depot's not taking it back? So, but I don't think, oh, well, I guess that's about it. I guess we can, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a quick question for some perspective here. You guys don't do patrols and all that, right? Are you on a call for service basis and stuff like that? I mean,
We have a proactive element to what we do, but primarily, you know, our big focus is on citizen concerns. So if we're responding to complaints for the most part, but we do address violations when we observe them. So there is a proactive element there. We even sometimes, you know, do neighborhood projects, you know, where we're moving through street by street. That there has been times when we've done that. It's not something that we schedule on a weekly basis or anything, but it you know, sometimes it's called for. You know, like if we you know, have an area that has a lot of issues, we will bring an entire team into the area. And I know that sometimes people don't like this word, but we'll sweep the area. And usually it's for, especially lately, it'll be for curb appeal sorts of things. You know, so we'll go through, not necessarily looking for building code violations or anything like that, we're just looking for people to, you know, cut the grass and clean up the yard and fix the windows and that kind of thing, paint the house. You know, we're careful about how we do it. I like to believe that we measure what we do. You know, we don't just, you know, dump all these ordinances on people and have that heavy weight on them. You know, you know, like I say, we're trying to address easily correctable violations first. Now, when there's a serious violation, seeing, you know, like if we do something like that, we are addressing that. You know, if we have something that's a life safety issue, or or a land use issue that's getting out of control, then we'll certainly address it.
If our officers are driving down the street and we roll up on that, it's not been called, it might be covered from the front because it's all overgrown, obviously, no one's taking care of the yard also, so.
Yeah, we're
A lot of
actually looking
times.
for that house. You know, that's something that, like, you know, we actually instruct people, go look for that house, that one that's, or that commercial building. You know, a lot of times, you know, commercial buildings fall into disrepair just like that. And, you know, anyone here can probably think of a building that's like, it was like that or it is like that. If you see something like that and it's a concern, you know, you want to talk to us about it, feel free to give us a tip.
But again, not even if you call it in. If we happen to roll past something like this, our officers will go ahead and stop, make sure that this if it has not already been called in, that we will write what we call an I-complaint. It's going to be a self-generated complaint. This is not something you want to have on your block where your kids will run inside and start using it as a jungle gym. It's not exactly the safest place in the world. We also have a homeless population. We have to make sure that we keep them from staying in places like this, because what will happen is, if, I know it's Florida, obviously I'm not from here, if you can tell, the people will stay inside there. Homeless will gather inside of abandoned and run-down homes. If it gets cold, they're going to start a fire. So what happens? We're also not just property, but we have to make sure that the people are not going to put themselves in dangerous situations. We have processes that, if this is obviously, this one here is probably within that realm, we can demo houses. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. But, you know, pretty soon there may be a new house sitting on that property and you won't have to drive past that anymore. So like Larry was saying earlier, property values go up when you don't have these things that are sitting on your street or in your neighborhood and people see those. Someone's coming to buy your house. They're going to drive past this. How much do you think they're going to offer? So that's why we exist. Part of the reason.
I'd just
So-
like to add to that, that when we have a problem with property, I'll just call it, and we've had some in your neighborhood before over the years, sometimes it takes a long time to correct the violations. And I hope you have patience with us, because we have limitations. We work under Florida Statute 162, and then all the other statutes apply to us also, of course, but 162 is our go-to. So if you ever want to look at that for some easy reading, it kind of outlines how we operate. And so we have some constraints there, there's, especially with homesteaded property, there are issues there, like, we can find, but we can't really go through the lien process with them and everything, or actually, move any farther than that. So we had a house in your neighborhood that it took, I would say, 15 years before it got straightened out. And I won't say the adjuster or anything like that, but it was a very long time. We fined and we fined and we fined, and we kept trying to communicate, and it never worked. And nature took its course, because the person that lived in the house passed away, and then we were able to put the pressure on the people that inherited it to do the right thing, and they did. They sold it, and then someone corrected all the violations, and now someone's living in the house. So sometimes it takes an enormous amount of time.
Is there a tier of violations so that there's, some escalation in things for a situation like that?
Yes, I mean, we have a lot of tools in the tool bag. The problem is that when someone gets to a point where they don't care about their assets anymore, that's when it's kind of a problem, because it's sort of asset-based, if you will. Like in the pressure comes from putting a lien on the property, or the thought of having a lien put on it, and most people react to that. Most people we get voluntary complaints from as soon as we communicate with them. Most folks, are concerned with, having someone send them a notice or knock on their door. So we process about 10,000 cases a year, and so there's 30, and we have 30 code officers to do that with, plus six supervisors. So and everything from high grass to that nuclear waste facility I was talking about that's in the wrong place. So it's every neighborhood's probably got at least one of those somewhere in it. Where we've got fines, but the next course of action is to take some sort of action in the courts. And just so you know, our executive staff is working on actually putting something together to move forward on some of those issues. So where those issues are, it's not like we're just like kind of leaving it be. When there's a problem, to try to address it. So there'll be some new news about that soon, I think.
We're gonna open it up to question and answers, so we know we're running a little bit long, but we're gonna try and, yes, ma'am?
Back in the 80s, 1980s, you came and visited, and my husband was president at the time, and you brought brochures to pass out to our neighbors or new people that moved in, which saved you trouble. A lot of it was boats parked on the swale, vehicles parked across the sidewalk, people can't walk. You know, it was a really, really good brochure. And so everybody that moved in, we made sure that they got this brochure so they knew what the compliance was.
Mhm.
So that saved you a lot of time coming out because you didn't have to make the calls. I passed out the last ones about 6 months ago to my neighbor, and that was one of the things. He used to park his travel trailer out.
First of all, we appreciate your efforts there, and every little bit helps.
You could make one of those
And we have
brochures.
some flyers out here that kind of, I think they illustrate some common violations and everything like
Maybe
that.
they're con
And
violations.
and you're welcome to take as many of those as you would like to, give to folks.
You should look back in your files. This was an excellent one.
I know that. I
Look
mean,
at it, is that
I
right?
can't look
Okay,
at
I
the
don't know,
after
so,
that.
no,
But
it's
it's
Yeah.
nice, you move in, you don't know what the rules are, some people believe they own them, they're putting big trees in there, I go, you can't plant a tree there. Well, why not? That's my property.
And then of course, we like, we like to come out to outreaches like this, so we can communicate,
But it saves you from having to do this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
things,
Yeah.
you know.
I'll look and see what, might be on file or anything like that, and,
Yeah.
maybe, but you're welcome to any of these that we have on there too, and, you can,
There was just
feel
a
free to
tall
hand those out.
thing like this, and that's all
Yeah.
it was to me.
We have door hangers, they call them door hangers, they're just little strips that have some basic information on them, but we also, because we have to move along with the times, we have the websites, so if you guys are interested also, you can go on the website and break it down per division. You can see what the zoning of the area is, what's allowed, what's not allowed. You can see what building codes, what you need permits for. Anything that's allowed on or in the neighborhoods that you guys are in. It talks about commercial properties. We don't just do homes and neighborhoods. We do industrial properties. Like Larry was saying, the nuclear plant. We have the aggregates. We have commercial properties, Home Depot, Lowe's, shopping centers, apartment complexes. So we pretty much do the gamut. So the websites are a lot of information. And if you can find a way to navigate it, you can. But if you ever want anything specific, you can always call, leave a couple of my cards out here too. Larry, I think, has got a couple. If you guys want to contact us back, or you take the numbers for here. Do we have the numbers on the front page with our names or no? Is it just the title on the main page? Either way, if you call the main number, you can always ask for one of us specifically. And then if you guys are looking for anything specific, if we can't get it directly to you, we can direct you where to get it.
I'll leave Mary with some flyers.
Yes, ma'am.
Quick question on the reporting. When did you take away, or actually, why did you take away the anonymous reporting? And does that create, because I know that there was little wars that happened because of that.
That was, so it's interesting, it's actually a state statute that changed. So state law changed, and we didn't really have any say in that, of course, but at the same time, it was kind of a double-edged sword, because I totally see why they wrote that, even though it's hampered us in some ways, but it has helped the whole situation and others, because it stopped people from putting in frivolous complaints, just as it should be annoying to a neighbor or to cause, like let's say there was a neighborhood feud, which we unfortunately get involved with a whole lot. Someone might go through the whole neighborhood. We had this happen plenty of times, turn in 100 complaints, and then hardly have any that are even founded, or maybe they're just frivolous, like the head was a little high or something. cams were out front, and they turned in 100 of those, and we would have to process them all because, you know, they required it, and it was an enormous strain on us manpower-wise. So in that respect, we were kind of glad to see that happen. But then on the other flip side of that, you know, we had folks that were living in areas where other people were running really enormous commercial businesses, and you know, let's say it was I just don't want to say what kind of business, I don't want to offend anybody, but so they would run a business that wasn't appropriate in a neighborhood, and everybody would, you know, in the neighborhood around them might be scared of the person because the person is, you know, maybe intimidating or whatever, you know, but for whatever reason they feared them, and so it hurt that situation, you know. People were reluctant to call it in, so, you know, but it means we have to work harder, you know, we need to get out and find those situations like that, and so, you know, I like I said, it's like I said, two sides of that, but.
Are you required to tell like if I made a complaint to you, are you required, am I required to tell who made the complaint?
So, everything that we do is public record, so every note we take, you know, every picture we take, you know, all of our activities are open to everybody to see. They're out of the light, so.
Is it once they resolve the issue, can you go back and look it up, or is it?
It's
Is it
available,
public record forever?
it's available immediately, and it's also on record, you know, indefinitely, so.
So you may not be going out there, John called on you, so here we are. But if John requests records or asks, then you are
They have to do a public record
obligated
request.
to share whatever you have. But,
Oh, right, so we would come and say, oh, Larry called that in, you know, your neighbor over there, they should not get along with it, or something like that. We try to stay as neutral as we can as we go in and try to resolve the issue, whatever it is. And then, you know, we do have times when people get upset, they want to know, who called in about my nuclear waste facility? I've been doing this for 10 years, you know, no one's ever said anything. And then they go and they find out that it's Bob and not Matt Bob. But it's, you know, I wish it could be better, but the fact is that, you know, some people are just out there not doing the right thing, and then we've kind of all got to team up together to get some of this stuff straightened out. You know,
So, you brought up edges, and I didn't assume that would be,
I hate that code, but anyway, go ahead.
you hate that code?
No, the hedge high code, but, I mean, I want everybody to maintain their hedges, but, you know.
Well, no, I'm not just talking about ugly hedges or anything, but traffic problems where there's a particular hedge.
Oh, safe side corner issues, okay.
Yeah, you cannot get on the High Ridge Road from Lake Geneva, or Lake Bass Drive, because this hedge is so big at that corner that by the time you see around it, you know, you could be hit. And there's a couple other instances in our neighborhood, but that one's the most egregious in my
Focus
mind.
on getting stop signs and crosswalks then.
What did you say?
Focus on getting stop signs and crosswalks, and then that'll solve the issue.
if there were,
Well, I mean, yeah, but they do have a stop sign there now.
Where is that at
you
now?
can't
It's,
see.
Talking about Lake Osborne Drive.
No.
I can't hear. What?
Where's that situation?
Lake Bass Drive, entering onto High Ridge Road. Costco's coming from the other direction, and and the traffic light would be to your right on the left. And these people have done a great job with the house. And I don't blame them for.
You know what, I'm glad this came up because, so there is an exemption to that idea that you have to leave your name and your address. And the exemption is, life safety. So anything that is like a safety issue or anything like similar to that, then we won't probably need everything. So in this case, do you mind to give me a call? I'd like to find it, but I need to
Sure.
hone in on that a little bit. We would like to address that. You know.
Yeah, I assumed this was a traffic or some other department, but
Access
you brought it
to
up.
Our landscape code, no, when I said I hate this code, that it's exactly the one that is, just having to do with like your head being 4 foot in the front and, 10 foot on the side of the rear and all that. But you know, no, situations like this are totally different.
I'll call you.
Yeah, so, yeah, we definitely want to address that. I
It's
appreciate you
true,
doing
you
that.
have to, because I don't need to go down there.
You can't.
Because you have to inch out to see if somebody's coming.
Yeah, anytime you have that situation, if nothing else, even if you wonder if there is a problem or not, you can call that in and we'll take a look at it. We'll bring out, we'll bring out the necessary division and everything, like road and bridge and traffic and all those guys to look at it, just kind of put it to their standards and see if it's right. You know, and people generally speaking have been good, maybe we've had issues like that in the neighborhood. I can think of one on Montana Road actually that was recent. And, you know, the person that owned the property was very quick to have a police driving brought in compliance.
So, any other questions before we start?
Parking on the easements in like these multi-families living in single-family homes, and there's 10 cars in the driveway. Are there, what is the, like, you know, when the work trailers parked on, you know, on the easements, we see a lot of that in our area, and
So you mentioned a couple different things there.
Yeah.
One was so like almost like overcrowding issue.
well, yeah,
And that's
like
kind
you
of
can't
what
walk on the
causes some of the traffic
sidewalk.
issues.
Yeah.
And we do have ordinances about that. They're very hard to enforce. They talk about families and what are families and all that kind of, those are hard to, but we do have something that speaks to that is that we have this code, actually we have 2 codes now, that prohibit parking, on the sidewalk, or in the right of way or the swale area, and also another one that prohibits parking on the grass area. It's not on an approved surface, so there are ways of, you know, kind of bringing all that into, line there. So, if someone's running a business or something and they're parking, you know, in the swale, that's not appropriate either. We should probably adjust that. And, you know, like I say, most people do come out of compliance voluntarily, in these situations, you know, easily correctable sort of situation, you know.
That was gonna be my question, because I'm hearing that, there has been some violations issued for people who have their work trucks or large debris or their boats parked in easements, right, not on their property. And there has been some violations, but they just kind of move things and then eventually we're right back where we were. What do you do for that? And is that where the community help to advise would be helpful?
So if, let's say, and, you know, it's a boating community, so we have a lot of people that have boats and RVs and everything. So we keep that in mind while we're talking to folks like this, but, the ordinance doesn't allow people to park all of our toys out in the front. They have to be screened and, you know, back behind the front setback area. So, you know, we're gonna look at the, you know, the big picture here. We'll look at, so it might be kind of incidental, or maybe a boat park, in the driveway, you don't have it there for a couple of hours legally, while you're doing, and who uses a boat like that? You know, so we have to have some flexibility there, right? Like when I take my RV out, I'm gonna bring my RV and put it in the driveway, maybe I store it somewhere, and I'm gonna have it out there for like overnight at least, right, while I'm getting it ready and cleaning it, I'm putting all my stuff in it, same thing with the boats, I'm gonna bring the boat back, I'm gonna wash it off and everything. So we allow for these things, but the code, is actually pretty stringent on that. It says, and let's say, and we have gone to houses actually in your neighborhood where we've had that problem where we've gone there and we said, look, you know, someone has a concern about you parking your boat out here in the swale, and it was a pretty good sized boat. And it was just, maybe they just didn't want to look at it, you know, maybe they don't like boats, whatever it is, but there it is, and they complained about it, so we adjusted it, and I looked at the record, and we've been back there like 5 times. And so we have ways of enforcing this, so this is like a trip to the magistrate, if we get to that point. And that's what should be done in that case, is that there should be a very short leash on it, and just say, you've got to get this thing so you can pull it you know, to the side of your house and screen it, you know, for the 6-foot fence. So, or ahead. So we have ways of dealing with that, but it's,
So that's what the setback is, it has to be behind a 6-foot
It
fence?
has to be back, the setback is actually whatever the house setback is, the front setback that is. So it's gotta be behind the front setback, and it's not supposed to be between the structure and the street anywhere, and it has to have a 6-foot screen in front of it, even though it might be a big gigantic RV, like Class A or something like that, right? But, they want that 6-foot fence in front of it, and go ahead.
This may not be your area, but my fence behind my pool is on an easement. I don't know how big the easement is, but then there's another fence behind there and then a neighbor. So in that easement are several mature trees that are leaning on my fence and interfering, like in other words, structurally with my fence. Whose responsibility is that?
That is a civil matter, unfortunately, so, unless the tree is dead. If you have a dead tree, and it could fall and cause harm to, persons or property, then, that is addressed in the code. The maintenance of trees and fences and things like that, as far as like one affecting another, that's a civil matter that you have to probably, if you couldn't resolve it with the person, I should say, try to.
Well, that's the utilities.
Well,
It's their easement.
If it's a utility easement in the back, you own the land, so you and your neighbor share a 12-foot utility, more than likely, just generally speaking, so he's got 6 foot, you've got 6 foot, and the utility people have rights to it, and you can't build in fences with a removal agreement or that kind of stuff. But,
The last one for June?
Just one more question. So, instead of calling in for something, I mean, if we wanted to say, hey, can you guys come and ride through Lake Osborne Estates and, write a quote for violations, that's something that you guys do, or is it, you have to write down individual?
can you state that? I'm sorry.
Yes, okay. So,
I'm sorry.
it's okay. If we wanted to, say, can you guys come through Lake Osborne Estates and, write up code violations, can you do that? Or do we have to call it individual properties?
So compliance can go through the neighborhood, your code officers can go through, and, if they see violations, they can address them. You kind of mentioning permit violations?
Any violations, I guess,
And
she's like, do
we
we have to?
without us making a complaint.
Right, without calling it individual.
Yes, and so, there are times when, neighborhoods, we have code officers looking through in projects,
Because if we see things are starting to get out of hand,
Yes.
with things escalating, one person starts doing it, and then everybody starts doing it.
The supervisors have the capability.
There are means and boats.
The director could, initiate something like that.
Okay.
And that's what definitely prompted the invitation, is because there have been a number of things that seem to be expanding as far as, behavior wise and not necessarily being corrected, and they may or may not be involved yet. But as the association, if it comes to something safety, something hazardous, or something that is going to deteriorate the overall healthy aspect of our community, that's where, our association is supposed to be the voice of the community. So we want to know about that, and if we can assist and get in contact, that's what prompted the call. And I did talk with Larry about a few of the complaints that I had heard that have been brought up, including the Airbnbs and some things like that. We're not an HOA, so we're not going to go driving around trying to, be that regulation. But if it's affecting an overall aspect of the community, or definitely producing potential safety issues, we want to know, and then we want to collaborate, so. Thank you.
Before you leave,
guys get a round of applause until you guys show up at the house. It's almost like process serving.
Exactly, yeah, we're on the same level.
Yeah.
We're gonna move right along to our House Representative, Deborah. Give you the floor already.
Do you prefer me here or on the side?
We can hear you.
Okay. So my name is Deborah Tendrich. November, I became your state representative for this area. Just for those who don't know me, I'm a mom. My daughter goes to public schools here in Palm Beach County. I have 4 pets, 2 cats, 2 dogs, all rescues, and I run a nonprofit. So people actually ask me to run because I see how policies trickle down and affect people every day. And they are tired of people who win and then disappear. So I'm going to keep showing up for you time and time again. Today I'm just going to do a quick legislative update, and then I did have a meeting with the airport. So I'll give you an update about what we talked about after the crash, and we met with the airport authority, and it was pretty interesting, and there's some opportunities for more conversation. So in Tallahassee, I was actually assigned to 6 committees and appointed to 2 more, so they actually kept me pretty busy. I'm on the Joint Administrative Procedures Committee, the Select Committee on Property Taxes, which is a big one. That was one of the ones that I was appointed to because there's a few things that they're trying to do. They're actually trying to potentially eliminate property taxes, which would then affect your public safety, your police and fire, your infrastructure, and your public schools. So one thing that property taxes do is they do keep your local governments funded to keep fire rescue. Our fire rescue has a great time, call time. When we've seen fire rescue actually become privatized, it's been pretty detrimental to the community. So we want to make sure that we don't have any depreciation on services. So I'm really fighting to make sure that our local governments are not defunded. And if they do decide to do that, there's a few options. One is kind of like if you buy a TV and you pay the taxes on the TV up front, that's kind of like what they are saying for your house. But the issue is that's not going to keep supplying enough funding to keep your fire rescue and your police going. The other option would be to double our sales tax. And so that is also bad because one thing is with home rule, we actually keep the money in our backyard. If we do a sales tax, it kind of goes up to the state and then they divide it up. So we might, as a donor county, might not get the right amount of money back to fund our required resources in our county. So we're really trying to avoid those. I'm also on the State Affairs Committee, the Natural Resources and Disaster Subcommittee, the Information Technology Budget and Policy Subcommittee, the Healthcare Budget Subcommittee, which I'll talk about in a little bit because there was a big, you probably saw it on the news with the Hope Florida Foundation, that scandal with the money laundering, the $10 million. I was actually part of bringing that to light, and since I run a nonprofit, myself and Chair Andrade were really the 2 leaders in creating that investigation and bringing a lot of that to light. So I'll talk about that in a moment too. The Student Academic Success Committee, and we were also on the Vetoed Water Projects Committee, which was really interesting. We were able to actually bring back some veto water projects that were actually vetoed in the legislature the previous year. So I did pass my first bill. Thank you. Most freshmen don't pass bills, so most freshmen do not pass bills in their first term, in their first session. Well, this one is actually having the state of Florida recognize International Holocaust Remembrance Day. This is actually pretty important because Palm Beach County has actually the highest incidence of anti-Semitic attacks and in the entire state, followed by Dade and Broward. And in fact, I was talking with some college professors, and their students now that are not only denying the Holocaust, but they're actually justifying it, which is pretty horrendous, especially with white. And we have a huge Holocaust survivors and child survivors population in our county and throughout the state. The other one I brought was a housing bill. This is affordable housing bill. Believe it or not, affordable housing units, landlords could actually increase the rents mid-lease with clauses. So basically you're looking at individuals who have 2 choices, be stay homeless or sign a bad lease. And so what these individuals are doing is they're actually forced to sign these bad leases that increase the rents in the middle of the lease. So this bill was actually designed to allow the rental increases, but only when it's time for lease renewal, not in the middle of the lease. And so we got it passed through 2 committees unanimously, but the third committee's chair blocked it, unfortunately. But we're looking at bringing it back if we can't get him to change his mind, because how it works on the legislative process, you have a bill idea, you get your stakeholders' input, you bring it forward into bill draft, you get it in the proper form, and then it's referenced to multiple committees. So usually bills are referenced on average about 3 committee stops, which means that these are smaller groups. There's 120 legislators, and those committees are a lot smaller. So you can actually go through different committee stops and work the bill with the different legislators. They ask questions, they can add amendments, and get it to the posture where it fits everyone's needs the best bet. So when we get to the House floor, everyone can vote on it, and then we can pass it. So you have to first get the chair to allow it to even be heard in the first place. So 119 members in the entire legislature could love the idea, but that one committee chair could not be a fan of it or have a problem with it or personal problem with you too, and block the entire bill from happening, even though it would benefit every single person in the entire state. So that's kind of the process. So it did get blocked on the 3rd committee, but it's okay. We're looking at bringing it back. I actually was able to secure about $2 million to come back into our county and our district. The governor did veto a few. There was one that was particularly upsetting that he did veto. I told you I run a nonprofit. 1 out of 10 of the families coming through our doors are veterans. And so one of their biggest issues in our county is mobility. And so I actually worked with PalmTran and our county to find funding to actually allow veterans to ride public transportation in our county for free. And that would have been called the Patriot Pass. The budget request is only $150,000, which is one of the smallest requests out there, and the governor vetoed it. Along with multiple other veteran initiatives, unfortunately, that are more focused on basic needs for our veterans. That was one that I knew was not going to get vetoed, but we did still get quite a few wins for our county. I'm looking to see things that we're a little bit short on time, so I'm going to just kind of skip through a few things. We also have the opportunity to support other bills that other legislators are bringing forward that would be beneficial. So I actually co-sponsored over a dozen other bills that are supporting public safety, health in the community, pediatric health, along with the school start times. There was anyone with children or grandchildren, there was a big bill that actually would have affected the school start times, and the districts were not really happy with that. They wanted to be able to decide what's best for our own backyard. And we were able to reverse that and put that control back into our districts, which is a really good one. I was happy to be a part of that as well. And besides passing laws, a little bit of our responsibility is to stop really bad bills from passing. So we can block bad bills by, bringing people into the conversation, talk about stakeholders, and try to kind of lobby in a way where we're trying to just kill that bill so it doesn't actually come to fruition. We were able to do that. I'll give you an example. With the CRA bill, CRAs are designed to eliminate slum and blight in communities. They help with affordable housing, mobility, public transportation. With transportation, you might see some communities have those golf carts that help individual seniors that don't have transportation. They also help with leases for small business owners that are below market, so we can support the small business community within those neighborhoods, in those areas. Banks and other organizations funnel resources into those communities to help build them up as well in the CRA districts. Well, we had a bill sponsor, Rep. Gian Lombardo, who actually wanted to sunset all the CRAs. So a lot of CRAs had affordable housing projects in the works, infrastructure projects in the works, things like that, and it would have actually killed all those projects. And so what we were able to do is I was able to arrange a meeting with some of the local CRAs and the bill sponsor And we actually were able to amend that bill, and then it got bundled into a few other initiatives, and we were able to actually kill it in the Senate side. So that won't come to fruition, but there is always a chance that those bills can come back. Another bill that we worked really hard to stop was HB 1205. And so HB 1205 is about the ballot initiatives for citizen-led initiatives to be put on the ballot. So we had every election you'll see sometimes there's amendments that'll add to the Constitution, constitutional amendments. Well, those are usually citizen-led, or you have to go through the legislature and have them added through the legislature. So this one was really, really troublesome for us because it was designed to improve the integrity of the citizen-led petition process. However, and by keeping big businesses out of the process and getting involved in our Florida politics. However, it did a little bit of the opposite because now, in order to get petitions signed, you have to have $1 million bond. So the college students who are grassroots, that is not allowing our grassroots organizations to do the work because it's actually scaring them off by having to secure $1 million bond. Additionally, if you volunteer to collect petitions and you collect 26 petitions, you are now at risk for a 3rd-degree felony. So, if you're looking at a lot of these organizations, it's actually scaring people out of being a part of that petition process and getting involved. Is really discouraging it because nobody wants a felony, nobody wants to get fined thousands of dollars, and really nobody, those grassroots college kids and who are really trying to create movements, they won't take out $1 million bond. So those are some of the things we worked on. We really tried to stop that bill, but that was a priority from leadership, so we couldn't really, there was not much we could do on that, except now educate people. And, truthfully, the citizens that I talked to, our residents and constituents are pretty upset about that. So the last thing is we also bring things to light. We find things out and we bring it to the forefront, which is what happened with the Hope Florida in the Healthcare Budget Subcommittee. I get a lot of questions, and I even had one when I came in the door asking me about it. So basically with that situation, Centene is a Medicaid provider, and they received overpayment from our state, along with many other states. So they had settlements throughout the country. In our state, if we receive a settlement that's over $1 million, it has to be brought to the light to the legislature. They didn't. In fact, the settlement was $67 million, and the legislature did not get any word about it. The only reason we found out about this is because our governor wanted to put Hope Florida codified into our state statute, and reporters started investigating Hope Florida and saw there was a difference between the Hope Florida Foundation and the Hope Florida Navigators that are embedded in the different state agencies. So that's actually how it really came to light. But what happened was they took 57 of the $67 million and sent it where it belonged, back into ACA. And then they secretly wired $10 million into the Hope Florida Foundation. So that Hope Florida Foundation then took that and took 2 grants that were written by 501c4 dark money PACs and sent them each $5 million. The grants actually said that you cannot disclose, that they will keep the funding secret, so they won't publicize that they got a $5 million grant. Which is interesting because Hope Florida will do press conferences with $10,000 checks, but keep a $5 million contribution secret. And also they gave full discretion to those 501c4s, gave them full discretion on how to spend $5 million, which grants don't usually work that way. So then that money then went into another 501c4 run by James Boothmeyer, which then fought a citizen-led ballot initiative. So they took healthcare Medicaid dollars and laundered it through the Hope Florida Foundation through 2 501c4s into another 501c4 to fight the citizens. Just so you know, the Hope Florida is designated a DSO, which is a direct service organization for DCF, which means they're supposed to be carrying out supports for DCF. That was not a support for DCF. So right now, Leon County is actually investigating it, and there's also, they're also being looked into through the federal side. That was really important to me because I do run a nonprofit, and if it happened, if I did anything like that, or if any of the grassroots organizations here, we'd be shut down by now. And so, transparency on how public dollars and Medicaid dollars are spent it should be an extreme priority for everyone. So this is really personal to me because of especially the scope of work I'm in on a day-to-day basis.
I'm sorry, Ms. Tendrich. What is the difference between a C3 and a C4?
So C3.
Did you say that?
Yeah, no, well, not exactly. I didn't explain it. So 501c4s are allowed to do political initiatives. So like when you see a political organization that is also lobbying or they're for a special interest, that's a 501c4. 501c3 are just a nonprofit. Only a very, very small percent can be for lobbying, but it has to be for.
So they're both nonprofit. The C4 can have a political affiliation.
Correct, and those are typically more considered dark
I just
money.
had never heard that
Yeah.
term.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so C4 is more a political organization, and a C3 is a nonprofit that is only allowed to spend a very small amount of money on lobbying.
Okay.
So they violated that because Hope Florida is actually a 501c3. And so, yes.
Quick question, hopefully you have a quick answer. With regards to this Doge process that's happening in Palm Beach County, they said on the news that the auditors, I guess that's what you call them, have looked over everything and they will not have any information available for 60 days. And in terms of what they're doing, it's my belief, at least what they're saying on the news, that they're finding any excessive funds that are spent on something that they don't feel is in line. They're going to recommend just getting rid of it. So all of the things that our taxpayers are paying their monies for, to go for this fund, for this fund, for this fund, they can actually get rid of it.
Yeah, and it's even more than that because I just spoke with our county yesterday or 2 days ago about this. It goes even bigger than that because they're actually diving in to make sure they're dismantling the minority and women-owned business initiatives within for vendor contracts because that's considered too much of DEI. So, I mean, it's going beyond that. It's costing the county a lot of money. And, it's kind of, if you look at your home, you're looking at someone who doesn't live in your city or your county trying to tell you how to spend your finances. And so to me and to a lot of the legislators, this is a big, huge violation of home rule where you're not respecting our backyard and there should be a separation. That's why we have local government, we have state, we have federal, is because we, those things are local, those things are our backyard. So being able to say, hey, let me handle my finances. The budget process is public. The county, when they're going through their budget, everything is public. The community has the chance to be a part of that conversation. That's who should be able to dictate how those funds are spent. And so we have a big problem with the big government right now coming in and attacking the small government. And if I can get partisan for just a second, there is a focus on which governments are being audited to through Doge. It is more blue and purple areas or people who have upset the governor. It's not an everybody issue right now. I mean, that's the truth. And if you look, Palm Beach County and Broward are big targets. So, it's unfortunate. It costs our local governments a lot of money. We had Cloud Lake, 200 people in that district. I mean, in that municipality, only 200. They just got audited. Their municipality is $180,000 a year. And they still have to do the same audit. And the amount of work they have to put forth, imagine an entire county. So, it's pretty unfortunate, especially. Yeah.
Is there an internal audit to our county? Does our county audit townships and other areas? Like, does our county financial group, right? Like our comptroller, do they audit townships? Do they audit cities and other municipalities within
No,
their
so
like you talk about backyard, right?
Yeah, so the county is unincorporated, and
Right.
so, they're really responsible for, like, for instance, the Palm Beach County Fire, or the PBSO, those types of things. But you'll have, like, the city of Atlantis, they have their own police department.
Right.
They do share the fire rescue.
So I guess my question is, who audits them
Um,
if it's not the state?
So they're all internal, so it's kind of like,
Right.
nobody, you're gonna go report your own finances for your own home, right? And that's kind of how the counties and municipalities do.
Well, I pay taxes, right? So then I don't.
Oh, they submit
I don't pay
reports,
my
they do
taxes
submit
correctly,
reports.
someone audits me, right? And
Yeah, so
the
they
IRS
submit-
tells me I owe, so I'm
Yeah.
just curious, does anybody audit them beyond the state?
No, so they do have like financial reports that they do submit to the
But
state.
nobody audits them,
Correct.
right?
I think they do have internal audits. I'm not, I'm not in local government as far as that, and especially with these new, audits, we're starting to ask a lot more questions about that, to be honest. I could double check on that answer, but under my understanding as of right now, local government, they do the budget process, and they're able to approve their own budgets based on what they bring into their own area. And then they do have to report to the state. But as far as making those decisions, it's really in their own, each municipality, each county gets to do their own internal. And I believe they do have audits within, internal audits.
Okay. I figured just,
Yeah, but I can double check for clarity.
Palm Beach County has a department called internal audit.
Yeah, so they do, that's bigger than just the county, so,
that was kind of my question, so like,
Yeah.
the Palm Beach County, right, head municipality, head county, they would go and audit Cloud Lake at some point for their municipal organization?
No,
They
because-
hold them accountable to anything?
no,
or
because
not?
that's their own municipality, so
Right.
they work side by side, but
So
they're.
the county doesn't fund them in any way?
Not really, they kind of they're kind of independent.
So if they
The
ever
only
need
thing
money
that
for
they do,
anything,
they
or-
do share police and fire,
Right,
but as far as, but that comes out of their property taxes.
okay.
So like, for instance, if they share police and fire, then they're responsible to help pitch into the police and fire with their property taxes.
Same thing like county, park
Yeah.
shores, all that, right? So
Yeah.
they're just, whoever is elected can do what they please with that money, there's no
Correct.
external audit.
Correct, well, so what happens in the budget process is those conversations are public at like the council meetings. So, everyone in the town or in the county, should be a part of that conversation because it's all public. The issue is most people don't. And so it's a select few who are completely invested in the budget, who have the time and the resources and the bandwidth to actually kind of dive into how the money's spent and be a part of that conversation. But if you look at those meetings, 10 people show up in a town, right?
So that's why I bring up the question, I'm just trying to get some perspective. So in this case, if nobody, like say the public is responsible for holding the people financially accountable, we're gonna use Cloud Lake as an example, but nobody shows up because it's a town of 200, right? So then, is Doge then replacing that and auditing them from an outside third-party perspective? Is that the role they're taking? Or
No,
I'm trying to understand.
they're just really trying,
Because nobody else is auditing them, right? So they could be corrupt.
well, here's the thing. What Doge is doing is telling everyone what they should be doing. And, everyone has
To a
their.
standard or what? Is it a
No,
standard?
well, they're like, for instance, they're attacking every little piece. I have to go in deeper onto actually, and I can send you what they're actually asking for. We can probably get the letter from the county to send out to show what they're actually asking to be audited.
Yeah.
But the amount of, what they're actually doing is dismantling a lot of projects too. They're looking at funding, anything that could be related to also DEI is one thing they're targeting.
Sure.
So, women-owned businesses had, and minority-owned businesses, they had a special, they had, within the small business and everything, though that's being dismantled. They have to go through every document, every memo, and make sure that certain language is taken out. It's kind of flipping worlds upside down, especially when, we actually pride ourselves on the women and minority-owned businesses getting contracts and making sure there was fairness in that. So it goes beyond just the auditing on what they're even looking at. It's not even only financial.
Yeah, I was just using financial as an example, just
Yeah.
curious how that process works, because I'm not educated.
Well, this is
on it.
new, this is a whole new thing too, so we're all kind of learning about how this actually works, because we never had anything like this before, where state says, you know
It's not
what?
a historical standard, right?
Where'd they find qualified people to do that?
They're not qualified.
Well, that's why, it would be one thing if this was, if they were attacking, or if they were asking across the board evenly, right? But they're not, they're picking and choosing people that they just like the least, right? And right now, that's what they're targeting groups, they're targeting people right now. And so that's really where the problem is too. This is actually like an attack method, or harassing like certain municipalities that they don't want. And we've seen too, it's actually worrisome because a lot of individuals, the way that we've been doing everything within our standards within our county might not fit with what the leadership likes that's doing this. And so people are really worried about getting plucked out of their seats and reappointed. And so these are also big fears that some of our electeds have, where they're not even feeling okay to speak out the way that they really want to defend our county and defend our municipalities, to defend our school board, these things, because they're afraid of being plucked out of their seats and reappointed. And so, you know, it's if
Well, I hope you speak out.
I will.
So we do have a few minutes left, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you ask your question, but I do want her to be able to share on the airport, matter and how that all developed.
And we can finish outside, you know?
Yeah.
It was that, what, the question was, why was, the clerk of, the county clerk, why is that, and why did they have to, why did, DeSantis have to appoint a new one?
Okay, so, he had to, so Joe Abruzzo became the county administrator, so that seat was empty. So what happened is Mike Caruso, which was District 87, he got appointed to the comptroller. So now he is there, through November 26th, and there'll be a new election. And right now, him and Yvette Drucker are running against each other in that election for the comptroller in 2026. There's now a special election happening in District 87. We don't have the exact date yet, but we'll have to fill Mike Caruso's seat now. So it was because Joe Abruzzo actually became the county administrator, and he earned that position.
So we had a plane crash, and I just want to say that we were already in talks for Deborah Tendridge to be here. So it's not just because of that. She already had in her mindset, and apparently already had a meeting set up with the airport. So I'll let you tell about that.
Yeah, so
Real quick, I missed a couple meetings. What's the intent of our goal for the airport? What's our goal?
Oh, I'll have to talk with you after the meeting.
Yeah.
Could you
That's
speed me
a long
up
one.
in like a real quick, like what's our goal?
Our goal
As in,
is
as
a
the
tug of
community,
war.
what's the community's
To
goal?
keep
Yeah, what's the
Yeah.
community's goal? Yes, ma'am. What's our goal?
To put it simple, a balance where aviation and community are, in a balance right now. It's getting lost, yeah.
yeah. Real quick before I jump into that, because I want to be able to finish the rest of my time, and then I'll stay out and answer some questions about the airport. A few things that we're just doing in the office. We are actually doing art in the office. So Friday, if anyone wants to come, we're highlighting once a month art from different groups in the community of kids. So we have K Center for Girls and Berkshire Elementary have anti-bullying artwork in our office, and we kind of have an exhibit to celebrate the youth. And every month it's going to be different themes. So we're going to open up our office and have refreshments and kind of like an art exhibit, but highlighting our kids. And then if any of you have youth groups that are in high school, students that you work with that are within our district, we're doing ought to be a law. So that means that kids could actually create a law, and I'll bring it to the legislature and file a bill that the kids created from our district to get them involved in the process. So if any of you work with high school students, please let me know. We're going to be kicking that off, and they have until September 22nd to fill out that application. So now with the airport, you know, the balance is really hard, right? Because this airport I found was actually built back in World War II. You know, it's actually pretty historical, and the background behind it is pretty fascinating, actually. But it's unfortunate because now there's neighbors that live next to this, you know, World War II training facility that You know, and now it's like, how do you live side by side and be good neighbors? And that's really what the conversation came to. So we did reach out, my office did reach out to Mary and Bill, and we got some questions. And so, you know, some of the questions, sorry, it's like the notes are all over the place, but one of the questions was about complaints in the public. And so what was great to hear was that they have done, they have released complaints in the past, but they're actually building a dashboard. So while they're working with the county commission in real time, you can actually see complaints. So that is, they're actually in the process of working on that. So as we get progress notes on that, you will be able to access that dashboard and see the community complaints in real time about the airport. So they are working on that for more transparency. They also are, one of the other questions was what is the documented evidence-based record showing how the FBO and or the Department of Airports address the complaints? Typically, Aaron, if you guys know him, he'll go and he'll actually speak with the operator and suggest changes. But subject to the county commissioners and the FAA, they're really not enforceable. Everything right now through the airport is voluntary. The times they could fly and, you know, things like that, that's all voluntary. There is a special lane that we're looking to potentially expand. That would actually help with the noise, but because that strip is so short, a lot of the aircraft don't want to use that one. So they're actually making a request to actually use that more often, which would actually be beneficial for everyone if we can get that going, but they are putting in requests right now. Also, they are creating a Lantana Airport Noise Committee. That should be up and running in the beginning of the year. So when that comes up, I'll keep you in the loop because they are looking for residents to be a part of it. So this will be a public-private committee. So I will let you all know when that is up and running. I'm sure they'll also be in touch with you, but I do recommend that a few of you do apply to be on that committee and make sure that you're part of that conversation. So they said that should be up in the beginning of the year. And that is going to be in conjunction with the Board of County Commissions as well. And I had another question about in the safety assessment, Lake Osborne Drive, the front row of residents. I did find out you are just outside of the runway protection zone. So I did ask questions about how we can help with some noise complaints, like is there any funding for maybe they can provide insulation for your homes to, you know, noise insulation, things of that nature. They said that based on the noise, the study, that you guys are literally a stone throw away from being able to have the FAA actually fund grants that would actually cover that. With that being said, we are doing some research right now to see if we could even fund, put in a budget request for your association to see if some homes, if you were interested, to see if we could get funded some noise insulation for some of those homes, especially in that front row, to see if it could help.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's probably not popular opinion, but that's why we're here today, right, is to speak directly to you. I voted for you.
Thank you.
To be honest with you, right, whoever you run against came up to my mom's house in Lake Clark Shores, and his little speech was ridiculous, and like he had no gravity or anything. So I'll be transparent with you, as I want you to be transparent with me. If we are gonna spend dollars trying to quiet airports that we live by, I think that is not a dollar well spent, in my opinion, okay? I think we need to focus on things that matter most, which is like vehicle traffic, coming to and from the park with crosswalks and easements, things that the community can benefit from, not just a short portion of us who are maybe south of High Ridge Road in a sense. That's my unpopular opinion, I'm sure, but I think the amount of time and effort we have spent on something we know we cannot inflict a great deal of change on in terms of noise, I think it's not time well wasted. So I know we're running short on time. I want to speak directly to the representative, but there's more impactful things as for a total community. I think we could all benefit from every email update, every newsletter has a great deal of the airport, portion of it in there. And I don't see that serving the majority of folks here. I haven't seen an airplane injure anybody except for this last incident. We can look at, our own communities and traffic, and I would say there's probably a greater risk.
I'm gonna answer that, I'm gonna answer that just because
I
we're
just
short
wanna
on
finish.
time, I want
Risk
other people to
assessments.
be able to talk.
Risk assessments.
What you're
risk
bringing
mitigation.
up with the traffic is
Yeah.
absolutely on a priority, and it has been discussed.
And I agree with you every time you
Every
bring it up.
single meeting, there's only 4 a year that you will hear that topic come up, and it have been, and you've been on the emails lately, you've been made aware about the issues with the traffic and how we are not getting responses, the whole thing with the bridge and the expansions and the things, very important, absolutely.
I like
However-
the bridge. I like the bridge. You brought up walking with strollers. It's probably because I was the one running down the middle of the road. So I really appreciate that. I'm not looking
There
to
are
point fingers
traffic
here to say
issues,
you're not
there are
doing a great
things
job.
that are not being
There's things I
addressed.
really enjoy about what you do.
Mary,
But
But
She has an
I
opinion.
wanna,
Yeah.
yes, but I
And-
want her to be able to expand to other
Yeah, but
people
I'm not
that
here
have
to really
questions
speak.
about the
Can I
airport.
say something? Yeah.
He said it.
So to your point, if you're getting,
what I'd like to see, I'll just be straight up. What I'd love to see in this community is stop signs, crosswalks, and
But
speed
she's
bumps.
not, she's.
And that is something that will.
Good, you're on the committee, you're the head of the
So-
committee.
so I have, on that,
I would if I didn't have a family with 3 kids. I
No.
would be in every.
Oh, but y'all have things.
On that
I come here today.
on that topic, what I will say is that's a local issue, that's not a state issue. But if you're getting pushback or
But
no,
you can get funding for us, correct?
well,
We're
what
talking
happened,
about spending money on the soundproofing. What I'd like to see the money spent on, if you were to get us
You
money,
say the FAA.
is for,
No, no,
is for
so-
stop signs and things of
so-
that
so
nature.
there's
Things that would
FAA.
be more community driven.
right, so
That's
yes,
what I'm here to say.
yeah, so what
A lot of folks in here already grew up their families, right?
Yes.
I haven't.
no, I wanted to,
I got 3 young
say
kids, and so my point of view, and I'll be straight, I'll transfer to you, is from growing young kids up in this neighborhood, and all I see is speeding, speed bumps. I can't ingress and egress into that park safely. There's always maybe 1 or 2 people that allow me to stop and they let me go. But
Will you be part
The
of the
amount of-
places that closes off Lake Osborne Drive or
Say again?
the bridge that closes it off? Because we have other options, so that would be a way, very easy, much cheaper than the things that they're planning right now.
all I'm saying is, airport concern seems to be like we've spent, I don't know, I've lived in the community for 3 years now. I grew up in Palm Beach County though. And where have we gotten? What is the goal?
I've been here for 60 years.
What's the goal?
And
Exactly.
in your 3 years, I'm sorry.
Well, what's the
With all
goal?
due respect.
Define the goal. What is balance?
Can I,
We're talking about-
is it okay if I respond to him,
Why don't
please?
you be polite and let everybody else talk?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, if I can just respond to
Sure, I'll
him,
raise my
can I
hand.
respond? Okay, so with that, I heard that you have gotten some radio silence when you bring up those issues. What I can do is I can help reach out on your behalf to see if we can't get the local government to step in. If we can't get that, then we'll take it to the next level and see if there's anything we can do on the state level.
Yeah, they point
But
to
I
USC.
think, but what I will do is I will help facilitate some conversations if you're getting roadblocks. And so if you let me know all those concerns, I will set up a meeting with the city and with you all to see how we can get some of those, some progress on that. Because to be honest, protecting the kids, I fully understand I'll do whatever I can to do that.
There's more of a chance that we get on the road and die from traffic incidents than somebody landing their airplane.
I agree with you on that.
So-
that crash like 6 houses away from you? Don't you live on Crescent?
Absolutely, but I think it's, I
You
think
know that was
that,
that plane was from out of the country, they came there to do
Jesus Christ, they neither are.
I mean, that supports jobs at the airport.
There's.
So I'll
I mean, those maintenance departments
I'll work-
are
I'll work
direct
with
taxpayers
Mary.
to our community and stuff.
I'll work with
What's
Mary,
wrong with that?
I'll work with Mary to see how I can help
Let's use
facilitate the
common
city.
sense here, man.
I'll work with Mary to see how I can facilitate the city to take it seriously and see if we can get some movement on
I
it.
just think noise mitigation is down, you're down a dead end road. That's my opinion. I'm here to talk about it. She's here, you guys are here. I'm in the community. I told an unpopular opinion. I know that.
Well, you're, no, you have validity, what you're saying is valid.
How I feel.
I think what you're saying is valid too.
I want a little more streamline on safety concerns
Do you work
that
for the
impact someone.
airport? You work for the airport?
No, I don't, but I know that the commissioner who used to represent I listen, man.
You're
Do you
not
wanna-
listening now, because a lot of people are trying to make conversation, you're monopolizing the meeting at this point.
I was here to voice my opinion. Is that
Well-
not why we're here?
Yeah, and you have,
Would you,
and you're
would
monopolizing.
you like to set up a
this point.
meeting one-on-one with me?
Sure.
Yeah,
Listen,
my number and email is
have to
on.
say, and then maybe you'll have some.
I read the newsletters and all
My
that. I'm
number-
more face to face.
My number and email is on my number and email is on the brochure, but
I
I
know
like
right
to.
where your office is. It's
Yeah,
close by my
yeah,
mother's house.
I'd love to make sure, but I wanna make sure I'm there when you stop by, so
Yeah.
maybe we can set up a time where we just talk.
Yeah, that's my opinion. That is what it
May I
is.
just say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we have had many meetings and conversations with police officers regarding the traffic, regarding trying to get speed bumps, and we've had countless times that we've had them come and measure out, and they tell us every single time, there's not enough traffic to put in another speed bump. There's not enough this, there's not enough that. If you would like sidewalks running down the other side, then
No,
maybe
I'm
you
not
want
for
that.
that.
Sorry.
I'm not for the sidewalks or
But
anything.
see,
I want
I-
to ingress into the park
Sir-
like everybody else is.
Sir, I'm trying to explain something to you, that this is a conversation that we've had many times with law enforcement, with Mr. Weiss, with anybody that will listen about the problems we have with traffic in our community, about the speeding in our community. Every time we have these conversations, we are told the same thing. That if we want anything done, what they will do is they will put sidewalks down on the other side of the road. If we do anything to the streets, that's what they are going to do.
See, I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit here, because the city of Lake Worth was in that same council meeting when we had the consultant there. Weiss was in there, and they were able to put stop signs at 12th and Lake Osborne Drive.
Lakewood Beach, yeah.
Correct, the city of Lake Worth Beach, sure, yeah. And so I would like to say.
But we're not the city of Lakewood Beach.
Right, but what I'm saying is that city can get it done, right?
So why
you're-
can't unincorporated?
So why can't unincorporated do it? And I think what I'm trying to say is our center of focus is split into four, right? We talk about speed bumps, we talk about speeding, right? And then on the other hand, we talk about the FAA and sound abatements and all
Well,
this
we
kind of
haven't
things.
talked
right?
about the FAA today because you're monopolizing the meeting at this point.
What I'm trying to
to
say-
listen about the airport, and you're not allowing that part of the meeting to occur. You've been talking now for the last 10 or 15 minutes about that.
Now,
Well,
7
whatever.
minutes between
But you've been
conversations.
monopolizing, you've been talking over every person, and you're trying to talk over me now. And we came here to listen to this person and respected person about the airport, and we haven't talked
I'll
about it.
leave after this comment. What I'm trying to say is you combine effort on one thing, right? Instead of doing a split effort here, and you tackle one issue at a time until it's finished. So if it's speeding and speed bumps, you got my vote. If it's sound abatement with the FAA, where you get a plane crash every 2 years and everybody freaks out, the guy in the passenger, pilot gets hurt, I'm not for that. That's not my vote. So I just want to let you know where a community member stands. I'm not trying to hijack anybody's meeting. It's a public meeting, and I'm here to voice my opinion, sir, respectfully, which I think I've done today. Thank you.
I understand what he's saying, because he has
Thank you very
kids and
much.
he wants them saved. So I'll take that as a priority too. And so I'll work with you, Marion, on the conversation, see if we can't move that conversation forward, and I'll help facilitate some of those.
I do wish you'll be back here when we do talk more about the
I
traffic.
come here
So you'll have a good
whenever
voice.
my family allows me to. I want to be part of the conversation.
I agree with the
All
traffic side of it, but I
I'm
can't
gonna
hear
track
about
you
your
down.
too.
right, and I have an opinion, sir, so.
But it's
Carry on.
different budgets, I will tell you, what we're talking about, so we're kind of mixing tomatoes and
Yeah, and I'm speaking on what I was asked to address today too.
And that's okay. But whatever you can do to help us on the other end and get funding
I
from the
want to
state
meet with you
and
on
county.
that executive committee. I know, the truth is, there's a lot of issues that people care about, respectfully, so.
And
Yeah,
there
we can walk and chew gum at the same time, no matter what you think.
Yeah.
You know, we know how to handle multiple issues, we've been doing it a long time.
So as far as, it sounds like they've come up with lots of future solutions, but we did ask for the history of the complaints. Is that something that they were able to provide?
They said that they have released them before, as far as, they said it has been done, but that's why they're working on that dashboard. So moving forward, once that's up and running, everything coming in will be public and.
Did they say which dashboard or company that is? Because that's part of the,
They said it's gonna be through the Board of County Commissioners, so it'll be, on the county, probably from the county commissioner website. I'm not quite 100% sure, we didn't go into too much detail on that, but they did say that, they're working with the Board of County Commissioners to have that dashboard up and running, because apparently a lot of people wanted to have visibility of live complaints. So that dashboard will be that avenue.
And that dashboard, I wish we were able to download all the complaints that they have hidden. We've got thousands of complaints from our neighborhood that have been sent up to BVIA, up to the authorities there, the airport authorities, and it never appears, and we've kept them. We can download them, but they don't, they want to hide the ball. That's the game.
Larry, who's our county commissioner?
Say again?
Greg Weiss. Greg Weiss.
Greg Weiss.
Thank you.
Weiss still is.
It's his last term.
He's at the mirror.
There's also the Part 150 study that was completed, and the safety assessment that was conducted, but we don't have final reports. Did they mention anything about that?
They did, yes. So they did say that the report is complete, and they're waiting on, it says it is complete. So the report is complete, they did the assessment, and that they're waiting to, I guess, input all the public comments, but there were public comments already accepted, so.
we're status quo.
So they finalized the report without taking in the public comments?
They said they did to receive, they said they had multiple meetings that took public comment, and so now they're putting it into that report.
Right, so they're still incorporating the after
So the report's
comments, and they're not finalized.
Devin, you're also working with Alan, Callback, and all those people, right?
Yeah,
We have a coalition, not just Lake Osborne Estate.
correct. And I know that the biggest concern is really the helicopters. So they've been trying to really and from what I got from them is they've really been trying to reinforce the times to fly, but it's all voluntary. And really, so they've actually ended one person's lease over being a very unfriendly, but they're not actually allowed to do that. Believe it or not, they could actually get.
Oh, we know.
Yeah, so, I kind of, it's hard because, I'm kind of trying to facilitate this, and I'm very, very sympathetic to everything you're going through, and I also understand their position where they're kind of at lockstep where they're really not able to do more than they really can.
But they could, and that's the problem. And I hate when people say, there's nothing you can do about it. When a community comes together and lots of voices yell hard enough, things can happen. So I just want to reinforce that.
There is, if I can bring up one idea too, and I know that from conversations, this was something that many of you were not really in support of, but a control tower. Interesting enough, there was a control tower put into Boca, and a lot of those planes ended up coming to this airport. A control tower actually creates a higher standard of compliance, which would actually be more beneficial. So that might be a bigger conversation, because once I understood, a lot of the smaller Boca planes ended up coming here, and Boca actually got a lot quieter. We got a little bit noisier, but it was the control tower that was put in. It does take sometimes a decade to do, and there could be one that's done remote. So those are ideas if you are open to exploring that. Boca really did help mitigate a lot of those issues that we're having here, and it was a control tower that actually created a higher standard of operation.
Well, North Perry has a control tower, and certainly it's not improved anywhere the situation, and they're very similar to us with the schools and all of the same voluntary, not voluntary, and their communities are much further away than we are. And there are many crashes happening. There were just like 3, I think, in one week, so no crashes, no. But I'm wondering did I hear you say that they're considering for a remote tower? because like you said, 10 years down the road, tower is a long time for many, I mean, a plane to crash on my house, so.
Right. I think, Joe, do you remember exactly what?
Yeah, we asked them, and they said that that's one of the avenues that they're willing to go down, but there's nothing concrete yet.
So by the way, that's Joey, that's my legislative aide. So, yeah, so he's hiding in the back right now, but.
I suppose they would have nothing to do today, because the answer we also get for many, many things from Department of Airports and the FBO is that really they can't decide anything, it's all the FAA, right? Anything in the air is the FAA, when it comes to money, it's the FAA giving it because the county lost its oversight and control on that. So I don't know if a tower now would come from our taxpayer money or.
No, so it's actually through a grant. So it's a grant through the FAA, yeah. And so right now they're in the, I think it's the Belgrade Airport right now, they're finalizing, I think, the tower over there. But there is a strip that is like, kind of like the noise abatement strip in a sense. We're trying to, I think they're looking to get approval on expanding it, and, what is it called? I'm still learning all the terms.
Thank you,
terminology.
nice meeting you.
Thank you. I'm still learning all the terminology about airports because I wasn't an expert until like a week ago. What is it called? The,
Airplane?
no. Yes, no.
Like that one roadway that.
Yes, but then they needed something put there.
Taxi?
Taxi, thank you. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so there's no taxiway for that one strip. So they're looking at seeing about getting a new taxiway or extending that strip, which would actually be a really big benefit. So we did talk about that as being a solution, about using that extra, it's like a noise abatement.
Which way does that one go?
Which one?
I'm not quite sure on that one.
Where's it go, Mary?
I met in that.
It's complicated.
Yes.
Don't they have a runway that goes south to north, so it goes over to the park, and if it crashes, it'll crash in the park and not on my house?
So I will say when.
Yeah, that's the noise abatement
No,
runway
it's
that
the-
she's
The one that goes over the lakes.
They don't have one that goes south to north, right over the park.
It's a train.
I'm going to let you know, I am doing my very best to understand this entire, I guess I'll call it a mission.
If they extend that one runway, that's the one that goes right over my house, I mean.
Never,
So then I'll get more traffic, but.
we do not want any extension, no whatsoever, no matter what they say, because that is to accommodate the next larger aircraft to come in. And if he thinks that this is okay right now, we'll watch when the jet schools come in,
It's still not
on top of the
larger
helicopters and everything else.
Well, that one is still going, it's shorter than the current runways, and it's still not long enough for the large aircraft that you're thinking.
But if you extend the runway, it opens up.
No, because it still wouldn't be longer than the other current runways. Right now, it's shorter than the others right now.
Well, then you're just asking for more jets. And you're giving money to the business operators who are hungry for that.
Somebody else did that.
Not for us.
Yeah, I guess there's no perfect solution on this.
Somebody else did that.
There has to be a balance where the airport stays as it was supposed to be, not an international airport, a small general aviation airport that was built around what already existed. The airport was not first. There were farms, there were individual small properties that were here. And when that airport was created, there was already the plan for all that property that is public, it's ours, it's not the FAA's, it's part of John Prince Park. It was meant for the people, not for the aviation or the elite only, and it needs to be reminded and stay that way, and that's all we ask for. We ask for that balance to remain. And I understand that the airport wants to continue making its money, and it's on a good track for that. While people like Sir over there says, there's nothing we can do about it. But yet there are many other airports that have adapted and that have been good neighbors and that have put things in place so that the people aren't suffering as a result of a certain group of people that are gonna be getting advantage.
So do you have any recommendations then that I can
Get rid of
bring
the
back
jets.
that are viable solutions that I can offer?
And they're already here.
Yeah, we put in quite
Yeah,
a
you
few.
can take those voluntary guidelines and make them mandatory.
That's not allowed.
No, don't say that, because North County Airport, they have mandatory, they mandated it. They pick and choose, the FAA picks and choose how they use
Joey, can you repeat
those,
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
those designations. Certain places, they
North County
are,
Airport.
North County Airport is treated differently than this airport, and it has to do with some agreement with the FAA. Whoever knows how the FAA works, it's completely.
Yeah, I'm sorry, because I was not in aviation
Yeah.
before last week, so
So what-
I'm really trying to grab my head and do as much research on this as possible.
When everybody tells you that there's nothing that they can do, it is because of the bureaucracy of the FAA, but they make exceptions, and they made exceptions at the North County Airport. So what we're asking is that they make those voluntary things that are already written, make them mandatory, and make it enforceable.
So Joey's gonna look into those guidelines and see how we can, talk about that with,
Because I walk in the morning right by your house, and some days it's like, if they're 100 feet, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And my opinion is, I think some of the pilots do it out of spite. That's,
Yeah, the FAA sat in our living room and said that there's no reason that any plane shouldn't be at least 500 feet above our house. That's from the FAA inspectors. But then when you look at the data and what everything says, none of them do it. The FAA says that if a plane's not over 500 feet, it's not operating. So.
yeah, no.
did they tell you what, did they give you action to take if you see it?
No, because what they say is anything that's considered landing or taking off, there's no actual requirements, but there's also no parameters about what's considered landing and taking off. So you can go all the way to I-95 and they can fly as low as they want because they're in the proximity of the
It's not
airport.
restrictive enough to protect you.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think they also ignore the fact that, I've been here about 30 years now, but there's a plane that crashed into a house. I forget how many years ago it was. My kids were still young at the time, but that's over by Lake Bass in that area. It went over there.
No, it's right behind Mary's house.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, it's further over on Lake Bass, or in that, not Lake Bass.
Well, that is, that's
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, well, no, but it went further south. It went over into,
Anyway, a plane crashed into a house.
yeah. Then we had the jet recently, which I don't know if that was a landing or takeoff issue. That was a jet that wasn't supposed to be there at the time, and now they are. Then there's the one that happened in John Prince Park, and I think there's been some others that I just don't recall right at the moment. And
On
it
the
just,
airport.
yeah, this last one came the closest reasonably to hitting houses, because I walk by there, every morning.
Yeah, that one's scary.
And it really is, like, these are also many aircraft that are very old. And if they're not old, like this recent one that was from 2023, they're altered. And they're doing these tests, which I guess is part of, when you have an airport, you'll have the mechanic there because, the plane has to be able to move. I guess they're not moving in our streets, right? But the tests are happening and the modifications and the inspections are quite questionable. One of those crashes from, a year and a half, 2 years ago, the person had passed away. He was an engineer. He had owned his aircraft all of his life. The school picked it up, probably for a good deal, put it in flying, supposedly had been inspected, but the plane crashed with the instructor and the student in it. That's not necessarily going to be said in a report,
Yeah.
but we know it.
I'm fortunate that I'm not in a runway path, but helicopters don't hesitate to hover over my house,
And helicopters have no reason, other than like other aircraft, to be approaching so low, so slow. Helicopters have the capacity to come down.
Because they're training, that's what they do.
So instructors
Yes, should.
are supposed to be the
Yes.
ones
Yeah.
very experienced and able to,
I'm
yes.
sure the instructor saying, hey, just get this thing down here.
No, they're trying to save gas. They don't want to go to a station. Say Barry would be, 5-10 miles away, and they don't want to go there because that's on gas.
Any other final thoughts that you think were covered before we?
No, I think right now, we gave us some things to work on, which we'll look into what's happening in North County and have another conversation with the airport on seeing how maybe we could try to facilitate those same requirements and restrictions on this airport and see how that starts. As far as the other concerns, with some of the stop signs and things, maybe you can let me know some of those, issues, and we'll try to see about facilitating a meeting to see how we can move forward and get some progress on that too, because I understand that's a big issue also.
Yeah, we can update you on what has been said and done. There was a couple of years ago, I think, what do you call it? They checked us, a what? A study done? Yeah, so, but that'll be good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Patience and sticking around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you talk to Bill Cook, so you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Actually,
he knows more about this than all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I was never in aviation, so I'm brand new to this.
Yeah, I know. I can tell because you're following regulations. What do you keep on the script?
Yeah.
It's okay.
I'm trying my best, I'm trying my best.
Your heart's in the right place.
Thank you.
Okay, now,